So I was working on my indie game roguelike in Unreal Engine, but the entire game broke. The player didn't exist anymore and I didn't know what was the problem. And it was really frustrating because I have had many issues like this with Unreal Engine, and I don't necessarily think it's a bad engine, but I just have been having problems like these. This also came at a bad timing because I was just getting some work done on redoing the art and progress was going great, but then this happened. Because all of this frustration, I really wanted to try a new engine, which is why for this video I'm gonna be learning to use Godot in 7 days. So day 1. I really just wanted to learn the basics on this day, so that's why I watched the tutorial for the very basics, and I decided also that the art style was gonna be really simple, 8-bit, nothing special, because I really wanted to focus on learning the engine, because the art isn't as important. From the tutorial I watched, I also got some very basic movement done, and I was really happy with the progress I was making in learning the engine. On the second day, I wanted to improve the movement because it felt very stiff and bad, and also I started to make my game a bit different from the tutorial, because I am very stubborn and I cannot watch a tutorial and then exactly replicate it. I have to make it my own, because otherwise my brain explodes. I also added some simple animation for when the player moves up and down to add some of that great juice. There was, however, one problem on this day, because instead of using GD script like a normal sane person would, I chose to use C#, but the tutorial was using GD script, so it took a long time. Every time I had to, instead of using the GD script and the things I saw in the video, I had to convert it to C#, because I thought I was smart and I could use some knowledge from Unity C# on Godot, which was kinda true, but the main things I have to learn are Godot, which doesn't really matter with C#. When the third day started, I wanted to add some meteors so you could actually die, and there was a gameplay loop in place. So it was quite straightforward. I just followed the tutorial and I learned how to use Area 2D and do some collisions, which was really useful. However, the signal for the Area 2D was quite a pain because I was using C#, and it is a lot more complicated, especially for a beginner, to add signals in C# than in Godot, because in GD script, because you can just in GD script you can just select a function to have the signal, but in C# you have to manually add it, which is a lot harder and more complicated. On day 4, I actually started implementing a spawner for the meteors, so they would automatically just spawn in and you would have to dodge them. So added the score with another timer, so every second you don't die you get one more point. On the 5th day I just discarded the tutorials entirely, because now I kind of had a complete gameplay loop, which wasn't necessarily great, but good enough for me to call it a game. So I started to do some UI work, which was quite straightforward. The UI systems in Godot are pretty simple, and now I also had some basic understanding of how to handle signals with C#, so I could actually use the buttons for the right input. After I got the systems done, on day 6 I added some particles for some even more game feel and juice. And I also added some music, but I wouldn't recommend listening to it, because your ears will just cry out for help. So I also made it so in the options menu you can actually disable the music, luckily. On day 7 I had this brilliant idea, because in my game you have only 2 colors. You have black and you have white. But what if in the game you can actually customize for the black to be a random color and for the white to become a random color, so you can customize the game and it wouldn't necessarily have to be as bright, or it could be more colorful, and so you could just customize it. So I made it in the options menu. You can now use hex codes to to customize the colors of the game, and everything works fine with that. And it also was the first time ever for me to touch shaders, which was a bit scary, but it was doable with the help of some ChatGPT, of course. So there you go. This is how I learned to use the Godot game engine in just 7 days. I hope you liked the video, and if you want, you can subscribe and like, and if you do not like the video, you're probably not watching anymore, so it doesn't really matter.